Good evening and welcome to the Newshour Agenda. Madhavdas Krishnan. It's the most explosive interview of 2023. Business tycoon and Hiranandani son Darshan Hiranandani, the man at the heart of the cash for query scandal, has laid bare the entire truth of the controversy in an exclusive interview to Times Network. Group editor Navika Kumar. Industrialist Darshan Hiranandani has been accused of giving luxury gifts to TMC MP Mahua Moitra that include Gucci bags, 35 pairs of Ferragamo shoes, Hermes scarves and 2 crore rupees in cash allegedly to Mahua Moitra. Not just this, he has confessed to sharing Mahua's Parliament login ID. In a tell-all interview to Navika Kumar, Darshan Hiranandani has admitted that it was an error of judgment on his part to have helped Mahua Moitra and that he's decided to come clean on his own without any fear of favor. Listen in to the excerpts from this exclusive conversation.
Mr. Dehadrai claims that 75 lakhs were given directly to Ms. Moitra in cash prior to the Lok Sabha elections of 2019. This was for her election expenses. Now, 75 lakhs is a amount that is very specific. It's a yes and no question. Was this given or not given?
Whatever I am aware of, whatever my involved in the matter, I have already put it in the affidavit. Nothing more, nothing less. I don't wish to add to it right now.
The gifts, and I can read out the list that has been provided by Mr. J. Anand Dehadrai. iPhones, diamond and emerald jewelry, scarves from Hermes and Louis Vuitton, 35 pairs of shoes from Salvatore Ferragamo, dozens of bottles of French and Italian wine, luxury cosmetics, bags from Gucci, a crocodile leather bag, cash in rupees and pound sterling. These are very specific details that have been mentioned. Mr. Hiranandani, I mean, people give gifts to their friends. Was this just friends giving gifts to friends?
I would prefer to stick to my affidavit. And, when called upon by either the Parliament Ethics Committee or any sort of authority, I will gladly cooperate and provide each and every detail that's required.
Mr. Hiranandani, Mr. J. Dehadrai has accused both you and Moitra of a criminal conspiracy of asking questions in Parliament. Do you think you were under pressure to ask these questions in Parliament through Ms. Moitra?
Navika, what actually occurred is there in my affidavit. Any part that or any involvement in anything is in this matter is regrettable and an error of my judgment.
Error on your judgment. Error on your judgment of whom? The process in Parliament or the Member of Parliament and your impression of her?
I think me being entangled in this whole matter is an error of my judgment. And like I said, I've been very clear and explicit in my affidavit about what happened. And, I've got nothing more to add as far as that's concerned.
On being asked that if he was aware of the fact that using a Member of Parliament's login ID and password could amount to a breach of national security, watch how he ducks a direct question.
You did use the login and password of her Lok Sabha Member of Parliament account for asking questions. Did you actually use them from Dubai, Ms. Hiranandani, and did it ever cross your mind that this was probably not quite the right thing to do?
Certainly, that part is an error of judgment.
Some members of Parliament in the BJP have raised the question about national security.
To be honest, I have no idea about all of that. I can only state the facts.
How often did you use that login account to put in questions via Mahua Moitra in Parliament?
I think let the record come out. I think it'll speak for itself.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, let's take this across to our guest. Joining us, Nikhil Abbas is spokesperson of the BJP, barrister Kabir Shankar Bose is lawyer of the Supreme Court. With us also is Tausif Ahmed Khan, political analyst. Tehseen Poonawala is a political analyst. Joining us, Dr. Sumanth C Raman, political analyst, also with us. Let me start with you first, Tausif Ahmed Khan. It is a very, very serious set of charges that have been put out in the affidavit. And you just heard the man himself, Darshan Hiranandani, coming out and saying that whatever he said in the affidavit is something that he sticks by. He's going by that particular version, and particularly the gifts that have been given to Mahua Moitra. Now that Darshan Hiranandani himself has stated it, is this not tantamount to a quid pro quo for a member of parliament? And that's a very, very serious charge indeed.
No, I did hear that interview with Mr. Hiranandani. Specific question was asked by Navika as to whether the gifts were given in exchange explicitly. This was asked, and Hiranandani chose not to add anything to it except what has already been described in the affidavit, and if the affidavit does not address that. Secondly,
No. It does. Please. Let's stick to the facts. Tausif, please. I am reading out exactly what's written in the affidavit. Tausif, please. No. Let's not do this. I am reading out the exact words. I have the affidavit before me. The demands that were made and favors that were asked, including gifting her expensive luxury items, providing support on renovation of her officially allotted bungalow in Delhi, travel expenses, holidays, etc., apart from providing secretarial and logistical help for her travel within India and to different parts of the world. I could ill afford to displease her. Many a times I felt that she was taking undue advantage of me and pressurizing me to do things I didn't want to, but I had no choice because of the aforementioned reasons. That's the exact quote from the affidavit, not a word extra, not a word less. Please respond to this, Tausif.
Yes. Now the proof, the onus is upon the people who are making these allegations, and the test is very high. The standard of the proof is very high. Whenever there's a criminal charges, it has to be proved beyond reasonable doubt. Now, obviously, the matter is before the committee, and it is before the ethics committee and not the privilege committee for reasons I am not aware. Well, whatever it is, the ethics will decide on this. Secondly, Mr. Hiranandani is also facing a lawsuit in the Delhi High Court filed by the MP herself. So, one more thing to be added here is the matter pertains to from the year 2019 onwards, and Mr. Hiranandani initially denied all these charges. After few days, he chose to write this affidavit. All of this has to be looked into in a very holistic manner.
Okay.
Also, we cannot ignore the fact that the charges, the questions raised by Ms. Mahua Moitra in the parliament, it still has no answer. You may accuse Ms. Mahua,
but the motivation for the questions you don't think is
subject to proof,
is under doubt now.
But that does not change. That
50 out of 61 or 62 questions that are focused purely on the Hiranandani and Adani groups.
The mightiest people in the country, and she has to be open to this.
Okay. Nikhil Abbas, I'd like you to respond to that. She is questioning the mightiest people of the country, and perhaps this is a result of that. That's what Tausif Ahmed Khan is saying. Please respond to him.
It's ironic, Madhav. Madhav, it's really ironic to see that how the opposition's desperation to defame Modi government has literally gone to their nerves and blood. I mean, a female, this really shocks me that a female member of parliament uses a place of democracy, a temple of democracy, as a stage to run a racket of questionnaire. This is really very, very shocking. In exchange of luxury items and whatnot, she knows better and she can tell better. I have few things to mention here, that this is not only Mahua Moitra, this is the entire opposition who has been behind the central government, Modi government, to desperately defame. And why I say this is because lately we also saw how Rahul Gandhi's best friend George Soros invested in a company called OCCRP, and that company apparently in the afternoon immediately publishes an article against the Adani Group, and after few hours Rahul Gandhi stages a press conference to again defame Adani Group and Modi government. It is so evident that it is a plotted program which is being run by the opposition. Also, Mahua is not coming up and answering direct question as to why did she share the lodging details with Hiranandani, as to why did she take the gifts from Hiranandani, and why is that she had filed a lawsuit, a case against Mr. Dubey, Nishikant Dubey, the Member of Parliament. She has filed a case against 15 news channels and also her former close friend Mr. Jeb, but apparently she doesn't have mentioned Hiranandani in that case. Also, one more thing I'd like to ask is that why is that her lawyer had to call Mr. Jay to make a out of court settlement? Isn't that evident enough that she's trying to hide something? And the distancing of Trinamool Congress from talking about the questions which are being asked about Mahua Moitra, this clearly indicates that Trinamool Congress is running away only because they know that there is something fishy. We all can smell that. So this is very I'll say that this is very properly planned, and this was an agenda which was being set by the entire opposition. I don't think so that it is only Mahua Moitra who's involved there. It is the entire opposition, big leaders.
Okay, we don't have any proof of that. We don't have any proof of that, but certainly the charges against her are very grave. And let me bring in Tehseen Poonawalla on that. Tehseen Poonawalla, a few days ago, Mahua Moitra...
Allow me for 10 seconds.
Yeah. 1 second. Nigat, let me just come in here because there are some very important questions. Mahua Moitra, Tehseen.
Last one question.
Okay, quickly, 10 seconds. Make your point quickly, please.
That I want to know that why, I want to know that how is that possible that the people of the India can now trust the opposition's question, and we should be able to believe that it is not cosmetically done, because we've seen that they're being paid for the bites, they're being paid for questions, they're being paid for doing the press conference.
Let me give this to Tehseen Poonawalla. Tehseen Poonawalla, the bribe for query charge once again stands to a large extent, at least of course it's for the courts to decide finally on the legality of the matter. I'm nobody to stand in judgment or second guess what the courts will do, but certainly if the person himself now is confirming that luxury gifts were given, that renovation work was done, all of that's mentioned in the affidavit is true, he says that's exactly what happened, then this is certainly going to raise serious questions as to what's happening in Parliament and the veracity and the authenticity of those questions that are posed.
Good evening, Madhav. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And at the onset, many congratulations to the entire Times Group, your channel and your Hindi channel, for this fantastic interview with Darshan Hiranandani at a time when the country's looking forward for it. But here are some very disturbing questions. Now, I hold no brief for Mahua Moitra. Sure enough, but TMC is not holding any brief for her. So she will have to come clean on what she's done or what she's not done. I completely concede to the point Times now has consistently made that your login ID is something very valuable. You cannot give it to anyone else, for the simple reason that somebody doing this from out of India, that system could be hacked by any spyware or malware, and the speaker could then email the Honorable Prime Minister, Chief Justice, and so on and so forth. So it's something very important, should be investigated. But here are questions. Is Mr. Darshan Hiranandani today, who's giving this interview, some in colloquial language, doodh peeta hua bachcha, some juvenile child, that he was being dominated by Mahua Moitra and he was so submissive that he was just going about and giving gifts? Does he not have grey matter between his ears to understand what is illegal? You are now saying, look, this woman dominated me and I was going ahead doing all sorts of illegalities, including posing questions on a parliamentary site. Are you absolutely juvenile? And you are one business group competing with the Adanis and other business groups. You have no brains. Secondly, let me come to the ex-boyfriend of hers, now spilling the beans. Again, I'm not getting into their personal relationship, but as an officer of the court, while he was dating Mahua and she was indulging in all these illegal activities, including Hawala, mind you, including Hawala, was it not his duty to go ahead and say it then that this is illegal activities? Today he's spilling the beans. One last thing, and here's my challenge to Nigat Abbas. Nigat, I have a lot of respect for you. You're a very good BJP spokesperson. So I hope you take the bull by the horns. Nigat, the contractor who apparently did up Mahua's house, you'll know the name, Madhav knows the name, is a government contractor. It's not a private contractor. Whether Hiranandani paid or no, this government contractor, will you act against him? I'll tell you why you won't act. Because he's done up a lot of BJP MP's house. I'm asking you, Mahua, all the contracts given to Hiranandani.
You've asked a question, let her respond. Let's be fair, the others who have not yet spoken, I'm going to allow a quick chance to Nigat to respond to that.
Madhav, that's not even a relevant question. Likewise,
Why?
I have a lot of respect for you, Tehseen, but apparently today the question is completely irrelevant and it doesn't really matter. How can you justify what has Mahua done on the basis of this question? I mean, okay, whoever is involved in these conspiracy, in the scam, cash for vote or cash for query, I am sure the person is going to pay for it, but that doesn't mean that you can come up with something which is so irrelevant right now. However, the important question stands here is that it is very important for us to be able to realize that
Sorry, will they be cancelled?
Let's
Okay, once again, Tehseen, you asked a question. Let her respond. The point she's making is that there are very serious allegations against the TMC MP at this point of time.
Like I asked, my very dear friend Tehseen has chosen not to answer on that why. Tell me one good reason that why today the entire opposition in mind it, even the spokesperson I'm not talking about you, but the the official spokesperson, tell us why do we believe the Aam Janta, how can they believe you, and why should we not believe that it is all cosmetically done? Because we've seen lately the senior leaders from Congress party are also being paid to give bites and do the press conference.
Okay. Let's.
And now Mahua is not a small face from TMC.
Let me come in now. Let me bring in Dr. Sumanth C Raman. One second. Let me bring in Dr. Sumanth C Raman. Dr. Sumanth C Raman, a few days ago on the show you were questioning the authenticity of the affidavit. I hope certainly you're not going to question the authenticity of this interview now that you've seen it and the man speak out in flesh and blood. But let me ask you this. We're at a point where even the TMC is not very strongly defending Mahua Moitra. This is what Derek O'Brien has said. He said, we've observed reports in the media. The member concerned has been advised by the party leadership to clarify her position regarding allegations leveled against her. She's already done that. However, since the matter has to do with an elected MP, her rights, privileges, let the matter be investigated with the right forum, Parliament, after which the party leadership will take an appropriate decision. So very clearly, even the TMC hasn't made up its mind. While there are a section of opposition leaders rushing in to defend Mahua Moitra. How tenable is that position?
No, I think there are two issues here, Madhav. One is, let me just state that the interview added absolutely nothing at all to the affidavit, because every question was met with whatever I wanted to say, I have said it in the affidavit. So go and look at the affidavit. So almost every question was basically stonewalled with that one stock reply. Nothing was, committed to. 75 lakhs, the man was asked.
Error of judgment has not been said in this interview. A huge error of judgment was said. That is not an important point according to you. Fine, that's okay. You can choose to call it not important. That's your subjective decision. I won't take away that right.
Madhav, it's very... Yeah, one second. I was looking for specific answers to specific questions. When were the gifts given? What were the gifts given? On what, where were the holidays, paid for? Which countries or which places did she go for holidays, which this gentleman paid for? Those were the kind of questions that we needed to ask. And
well, sir, instance, he has every right to answer in the manner that he wants to. But if he's upholding what's there in the affidavit,
Sucheta Dalal has come out strongly.
Let me read out. That question was also asked incidentally about Sucheta Dalal, and he said refer to the affidavit. Since you feel that this interview has yielded nothing, let me quote some things from this interview, and then the viewers can sit in judgment. You have already passed your judgment. Let me read it out. This affidavit is signed by me voluntarily, no fear, no favor. Testimony of that is that I had notarized it in the Indian consulate in Dubai. I think that me being entangled with this whole matter is an error of my judgment. And like I said, I've been very clear and explicit in my affidavit about what happened. And I've got nothing to add as far as that is concerned. Any involvement in this is mine personally, and the statement of mine is in person. There was a formal inquiry that has started to take place. Therefore, it was incumbent on me to come forth and explain the truth and cooperate. I can read out several quotes which are the position of Mr. Hiranandani that have been stated for the very first time. And you will still choose to say that it's irrelevant.
Look, nobody has said, nobody ever said that this is a forged affidavit. Nobody ever said. Even on the first day, the only question which was raised was, what is the purpose of him putting out, quote unquote, an affidavit which has not been submitted to anybody as yet? Now it has been notarized. Now it will go to the parliamentary committee. Today's interview has added zilch to the whole thing. Okay. My point is very simple. Sucheta Dalal, named by Mr. Hiranandani, has said very categorically that she has nothing to do with this and she doesn't know these people at all. The two Shroffs are said that they will be filing a defamation case. So let all these charges be proved.
Okay, let Barrister Kabir Shankar Bose come in. Barrister Kabir Shankar Bose, this is a totally irrelevant interview that has added nothing according to Sumanth C Raman. I know people are cynical, But you know, this really takes the cake according to me, because as far as I can see, for the first time you have Mr. Hiranandani speaking out. And he's spoken about so many aspects of it. Please, would you like to educate Sumanth C Raman live on national television as to why, as a lawyer, you feel this interview is relevant? Yeah, 1 second. Now, Sumanth, you've spoken. Now, let the other person speak, please. Sumanth, 1 second. I've given you plenty of opportunity to speak now. Let him speak now.
Madhav, let me come in now. The affidavit is completely damning. I mean, this interview itself, you've got the deponent come on record, and he himself is now coming on record and saying that he is given up to rupees 75 lakhs. We heard Navika question him that 75 lakhs was given at the time of elections and all. I mean, Mahua's wealth, is it disproportionate? That angle should also be investigated. This angle is of Mr. Suman. I did not interview.
Suman, let him have a say. He's just started speaking after 15 minutes into this debate. Let's be a little courteous.
Now, Madhav,
you have spoken, sir. Let others come in now.
Madhav,
Yeah.
Madhav, her having
Kabir Shankar Bose, please.
expensive gifts disproportionate to her income should also be investigated. Number one, it has also come in the news that her portal was once operated from Dubai when she was not in Dubai. I mean, this angle also has to be seen, whether she has completely played and tarnished the sovereignty of parliamentary democracy. What has she done here? Has she played and compromised the national security as well? How could she do this? These are criminal elements. These are criminal angles which also has to be investigated. There is also this angle of the ethics committee that's about misconduct of a parliamentarian. Let that go on. But has she gone beyond that? I mean, there are total criminal elements here which also needs to be investigated by a proper criminal investigating agency.
Right, and in fact, let me bring that in. Sumanth C Raman, Tehseen Poonawala is no fan of the BJP. Even he concedes that yes, there is a question of national security over here when a Lok Sabha login and IDA password is shared. And Darshan Hiranandani is admitting as much.
Definitely.
You don't think that's a national security concern? You don't think that if a parliament's IDs can be shared or bandied about and access from foreign countries, that's an issue?
1 minute,
Sumanth C Raman?
1 minute. First of all, I fully support the inquiry into the entire charges which have been made. In fact, Mahua Moitra herself has said, please do the inquiry. So nobody is saying that there should not be an inquiry. Second, as far as this login issue is concerned, the matter has been clearly stated that members of parliament are allowed to give their IDs to, I think, 2 or 3, I don't know the exact number, of their staff or interns. If it was accessed from outside the country, it is completely unacceptable and action must be taken. But
I'm glad you're saying as
the
much.
point really is, as Mahua Moitra has asked, how many MPs have also had their accounts accessed from elsewhere is something which actually a forensic investigation.
Raman, this is undefendable. Why don't you agree that there is a national security issue here? I mean, come on. This is the question of sovereignty of India.
I'm not too sure, because unless we know, 1 second, unless we know, 1 minute.
Sir, why don't you agree on national TV? It's a question of sovereignty of India, and there's a serious issue of national security. What we know, what we don't know.
1 minute.
Prima facie, based on Hiranandani's affidavit, it is clear that there is an issue of national security.
For everything you say, 1 second, what is the issue of national security? Now tell me, what is the, unless we know what information is available which is not publicly accessible to the MPs or to anybody else on that portal, if their interns are having access to the information, if their office staff are having access to that information, and that means
so it should be shared with corporate tycoons. Sumanth C Raman, what are you saying?
It cannot be.
What are you saying? The member of parliament's office staff can be held accountable in any number of ways. What about a business tycoon accessing it? You don't see any difference in that?
So tell me, no, businessman should not have it. Businessman
so condemn it. So condemn it, sir.
That is a point.
So clearly condemn it.
National security has been compromised. You have to explain what is there information on secret defense matters which is inside that portal? Is there information on
Sir, someone poses as a member of parliament and starts conducting activities of parliament. They have access to ask questions. They have access to the day schedules. They have access to a lot of information that only members of parliament are supposed to access.
Members' ID. There will be 2,000 people accessing that portal. There will be 2,000 people.
I'm amazed, Dr. Sumanth C Raman, what members of parliament have in terms of privileged information. You don't find it a problem if corporates access that information.
You can use national security,
this is
international conspiracy, George.
No. 1 second. Let's be very clear what we're debating. There could be a potential national security breach or a threat. That's the question being raised. I want Nigat to come in. Nigat, what's the big deal? If the MP's ID goes out, anyway, office assistants have it. So Mr. Darshan could also have had it.
Single access.
That appears to be Sumanth C Raman's claim.
This is very strange, Madhav.
Fully investigated.
Madhav, this is very strange that despite of the fact that there's so many intellectual people sitting on the panel right now on yours, but still we have people, justifying and defending Mahua's act of exchanging the login details with somebody who's from out of the parliament, telling that, even the interns have the login details. I mean, from the member of parliament's vicinity, whoever other people who are working under her might have that details. I understand that fact, but people who are not even related to the parliament, not even related to her line of work, cannot be given the login details. It's so manipulating. Anyways, somebody has mentioned that Sucheta Dalal was not even mentioned by Hiranandani. I'd like to read out point number 11 in the affidavit. Allow me to speak, Madhav. I did not speak over anyone.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says Ms. Moitra in her endeavor was getting help from other people like Sucheta Dalal, Shardul Shroff and Pallavi Shroff, who were also in touch with her and who were feeding with her with all kinds of unverified information relating to Sri Gautam Adani and his companies. And also from January 2023 to October 2023, Ms. Sucheta Dalal had published 50 articles against Gautam Adani. The same way like Mahua Moitra had asked out of 61, 50 questions against Gautam Adani. It is so surprising that this fellow did not even think of asking.
Let's actually listen to that question.
Questions about her Lok Sabha in the parliament.
Nigat, let's actually listen to that question because the question was posed to Darshan Hiranandani in the interview that did he send questions to Mahua Moitra to target Adani, or were those clearly pointed at maligning the image of the Prime Minister? Listen to what he had to say.
So, Mr. Hiranandani, let me ask you point blank. Was Ms. Moitra targeting Mr. Gautam Adani, and was it really to malign the Prime Minister, considering they were both from the same state? You've been in conversation with her, and you've been sending her questions, etc. Is it true that 41 out of the 56 questions were targeting Adani's for a reason?
Navika, I think I prefer to stick to my affidavit in this regard. But I can tell you that she felt that attacking Mr. Adani would target the Prime Minister because there was perceived proximity as both are from the same state.
Mr. Hiranandani, are you still friends with Mahua Moitra? Is she still a close personal friend as she was?
I think I'm now persona non grata as far as Ms. Mahua Moitra is concerned.
Tausif Ahmed Khan, you heard it there from Darshan Hiranandani himself. He says specifically that I can tell you that she felt that attacking Mr. Adani would target the Prime Minister because there was a perceived proximity as both are from the same state. This is pretty much what the BJP has been saying all these days.
So, Mr. Hiranandani and you are saying that the questions raised by Ms. Mahua Moitra inside the parliament has no merit. I do not agree to that. As a taxpayer, myself and every citizen of the country would want to know what is the
50 out of 61 questions. How often does that happen, sir? Is it just a coincidence?
Against Adani.
50 out of 61 questions.
On the contrary,
is it just a coincidence?
On the contrary, I believe, yes.
So coincidence?
No. If that shows the persistence. That shows the persistence of the member of parliament. When answers is not provided, she is bound to ask the question again and again. She is bound to ask the questions unless the answers are provided. You see,
so it's just coincidental that they helped the Hiranandani Group and were against the Adani Group, according to you. It's just coincidental that both the business interests just sort of fit in to what she was trying to do.
Questions, even if they are inconvenient to the government.
Okay, Nigat, yeah. Nigat, it's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence, Nigat. You're reading too much into it. This is her persistence against the government.
Cannot be. it's so naive for him to say that. I mean, I don't know, I should say naive or it's just, desperation that he's saying that. I mean, she could have asked much more questions, many more questions from a Lok Sabha. She owes much more, listen, hear me out.
Okay,
she owes
Tausif.
much more to the people of her Lok Sabha who has voted and because of whom she's been sitting in as a member of parliament in the parliament. She owes much more to them. They have voted them. It's a breach of trust for them also.
Okay.
And like I said, how the people of her Lok Sabha now can trust her, that she can be voted again, which is why Trinamool Congress probably is maintaining the distance, because they know that they cannot.
Tehseen, is this persistence? Okay, Niranjan, let me just come in now. Let me get in some quick voices. We're almost out of time. Is it just persistence, or do you think that the coincidence is too much and certainly merits an investigation at least, if nothing else?
Madhav, there are two very quick points I want to make. Point number one, you see these interns or these OSDs or PAs who have your login ID, they have a security clearance from the Home Ministry. So if they try to do something wrong, the system can track them down. When you give your login ID to somebody abroad who's not part of the system, let's assume Mr. Hiranandani was just a friend, but he would have given it to secretary. How do you know China has not corrupted it? And then the bug, once it's in the system, can go everywhere, because the speaker on another email could have emailed the Honorable Prime Minister, right? So the bug's in the system. That is a severe security risk. Let's not compare it. And Mahua Moitra,
Sumanth C Raman doesn't think so.
So I'm talking about Mahua Moitra to compare it to OSDs. Let me make another and a larger point. Look, where the BJP is being completely hypocritical and farcical is, will the BJP, forget Mahua Moitra, I think she has to answer, act against Hiranandani. They have given them huge contracts in Uttar Pradesh. Aditya Nathji's government has given them. Act against them, take them away. If this is against national interest, take it away from the Hiranandani group. There you're not acting against Hiranandani. That is the point where the BJP is running away from.
Okay, I'll let Barrister Kabir Shankar Bose respond to that. Kabir Shankar Bose, should it be a natural corollary that there should be action against the group as Tehseen is demanding?
Absolutely. If there are elements of wrongdoing, if there are criminal elements, that should also be investigated. I mean, we have an affidavit from Hiranandani, and that's on record. He's come on record and he's actually said that he's paid. Now, whether it amounts to bribery, whether it's something, it comes under the Prevention of Corruption Act, that should also be investigated. There is no running away from this. Absolutely.
Okay, we're completely out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Completely out of time. Nigat Abbas, Barrister Kabir Shankar Bose, Tausif Ahmed Khan, Tehseen Poonawalla, Dr. Sumanth C Raman. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us on what has been a very interesting debate on perhaps the biggest interview in recent days, a person whom everyone was waiting to hear from, and Darshan Hiranandani breaking his silence right here on Times Now. Thanks so much for joining us in debate number 1.